We're working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Maricar Velasco.
Delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region, I'm Mariel Soriano.
On today's headlines, a 5.0 magnitude earthquake rocked Indonesia's western Aceh province early Thursday.
President Duterte said he was unsure if peace talks with the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army or CPP-NPA would resume anytime soon.
For the third year in a row, Bangkok is a top international destination in the world. A 5.0 magnitude earthquake rocked Indonesia's western Aceh province early Thursday, the U.S. Geological Survey said. However, fortunately, there were no immediate reports of damage or casualties. The shallow quake struck shortly before 1 a.m. local time with its epicenter 20 kilometers northwest of the city of Langsa. No tsunami warning has been issued. Indonesia, one of the most disaster-prone nations on Earth, straddles the so-called Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates collide and many of the world's volcanic eruptions and earthquakes occur. In 2004, a tsunami triggered by a magnitude 9.3 undersea earthquake off the coast of Sumatra in western Indonesia killed 220,000 people in countries around the Indian Ocean, including 168,000 in Indonesia. A series of quakes and aftershocks on the Indonesian holiday island of Lombok through July and August killed about 500 people and forced hundreds of thousands into evacuation shelters or tents.
Vietnam held an emotional memorial for President Tran Dai Quang in Hanoi Thursday before his body was carried through the city, with weeping residents and police lining the streets to bid him a final farewell. Quang died on Friday at age 61 after a long illness that officials described only as a, quote, rare virus. A long-serving communist stalwart and former national police chief, Quang was celebrated for his dedication to the country that he spent much of his career serving. Quang's red coffin, emblazoned with Vietnam's national logo in gold, later began a procession through Hanoi on a cannon carriage, followed by trucks of uniformed soldiers with the country's top leaders walking behind for a few minutes. Quang headed the powerful Ministry of Public Security for 5 years before becoming president in 2016. His role as head of state was largely ceremonial, and he spent much of his time greeting world leaders and hosting high-level diplomatic events. His state funeral ends with his burial in his home province of Ninh Binh in south of Hanoi. Some 50,000 people paid respects to Quang in several cities across the country during the 2 days of national mourning, during which all entertainment venues were shut.
President Duterte said he was unsure if peace talks with the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army or CPP-NPA would resume anytime soon, admitting that he was not ready to talk to them yet. He lambasted the NPA for destroying the government and killing soldiers, policemen, and civilians since they were established over 50 years ago. The president, meanwhile, said that he has tried mending the relationship by allowing communists to work in government. He, however, said he was relieved that Congress rejected their appointments. Duterte earlier appointed leftist leader Judy Taguiwalo as Social Welfare Secretary and Rafael Mariano as Agrarian Reform Secretary. However, their appointments were rejected by Commission on Appointments last year. Earlier, Duterte claimed that Communist Magdalo Group and other members of the opposition are conspiring to remove him from his post. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana added that the reported Red October ouster plot is confirmed to be the handiwork of the CPP-NPA and that military is taking it seriously.
The Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army or CPP-NPA has always been trying to topple the government since 1968. Defense Secretary Delphine Lorenzana made the remarks when asked to comment on CPP-NPA claims that the, quote, Red October outer plot is only a fiction invented by the armed forces of the Philippines. Their plot to oust the President Rodrigo Duterte is true. Deny na sila kasi nabuking, or they are now denying it because it was revealed now. Our troops captured documents in November 2016 after their plenum in northern Mindanao. The peace talks with them was ongoing during this period, but the CPP-NPA were not confident it would last. They started to fully implement the plan called Oust Duterte in February 2017 after the president canceled the peace talks, he told reporters Wednesday. Lorenzana added that the ouster calls were supposed to culminate this October as the CPP-NPA strongly believes that a new president would be more willing to resume the peace talks with them. The plan calls for mass actions all over the country, and they hope it will snowball like the EDSA People Power. It was their hope that other groups would join to create the desired snowball. There were rallies staged in the recent past. However, they woefully failed to attract people to join except their usual paid rallies. But what else is new? The CPP-NPA has been trying to topple administration after another since 1968. They can deny all, but we know otherwise by their actions, he said. Earlier, AFP Assistant Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations Brigadier General Antonio Parlade said there are plans to oust Duterte and the government dubbed, quote, Red October by next month. The outer plan coincides with the international celebration for Marxism and the indigenous people. Allegedly, participants would be coming from a grand coalition and a broad united front.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced, eagle news, because we live in interesting times.
Ano ang tunay na kahulugan ng tagumpay para sa iyo, Miss Laarne?
Masarap i-feel yung tagumpay pag yung pinaghirapan mo, yung hindi ka nang gamit at ng apak ng tao na kasama si God.
Miss Ima.
Dadagdagan ko na yun sa
yes,
kanya. Kasi
ano ang
ganun naman
kahulugan
talaga.
ng success para sa iyo?
Ang meaning ng tagumpay is yung nasa sarili mo, happy ka.
Totoo.
Na satisfied ka sa lahat ng mga ginawa mo looking back. Ako po si Ima Castro.
At ako naman po, sila Arnie Luzada.
Abangan niyo po kami sa Rule Yourself to Success.
Ngayong Sabado na po yan, dito lang sa
Net 25!
Napay-isigaw na, nanapay,
Welcome back. The Asian Development Bank's latest inflation outlook on the Philippines is now higher than its previous estimates of 4% for this year and 3.9% for 2019. ADB expects Philippine inflation, which is now far higher than the rest of Asia, to average 5% in 2018 before tapering off to 4% next year. The inflation forecast comes with higher international oil prices worsened by local currencies depreciation that build up more price pressures. The bank said that inflation rates in Southeast Asia are mostly stable except in the Philippines. A confluence thereof caused push factors, mainly elevated oil prices, food supply disruptions, and a new tax reform program drove transport, electricity, and food prices higher. Domestic inflation jumped 6.4% in August, the highest level in almost a decade, as oil and rice prices spiked. In the first 8 months, inflation averaged 4.8%, well above the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas' 2 to 4% target range for the year. In a bid to fight inflation, President Rodrigo Duterte, who is facing public backlash over spiraling commodity prices, recently issued orders that seek to address food supply bottlenecks by streamlining the entry and delivery of imported farm products. ADB also said inflationary pressures are expected to cool down next year as tighter domestic monetary policy begins to take effect. The ADB added that it downwardly revised its growth outlook on the Philippine economy following the slower than expected gross domestic product expansion in the first half of the year and amid high inflation.
The implementation of the comprehensive tax reform package have contributed to the slower economic growth outlook this year. The statement came as the Asian Development Bank slashed the economic growth outlook for the Philippines from its previous estimate of 6.8% to 6.4% for 2018 and from 6.9% to 6.7% in 2019. Despite the slowdown, he said, the country's macroeconomic fundamentals were resilient, strong and stable amid the skyrocketing prices of commodities. The GDP forecasts of ADB were below the administration's annual growth target of 7.0% to 8.0% for the 2-year period. The Manila-based multilateral bank also revised its inflation forecast to 5.0% from 4.0%, above the government's target of 2.0% to 4.0%. The ADB said that the slower GDP projections reflects a moderation in agricultural output and exports, as well as higher inflation and continued global monetary tightening. The ADB has also noted that inflationary pressures are expected to taper off in 2019 as a tighter domestic monetary policy will take effect.
The Vietnam National Administration of Tourism conducted the Vietnam Tourism Roadshow at the AG New World Manila Bay Hotel last September 24, 2018. Once known as a war-torn country, Vietnam, which had 13 million international visitors last year, will be hosting the 2019 ASEAN Tourism Forum in January 2019. Ambassador of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam to the Philippines, Lee Quoc Tuan, said that they would like to introduce to the people of the Philippines, the media, travel agents, and tour operators about the natural beauty of Vietnam.
I have seen that so far there is a tourism flows between Vietnam and the Philippines, and a lot of Vietnamese going over here to visit the Philippines, and so the number is bigger from the Philippine side going to visit Vietnam. The last year there were 134,000 Filipinos visiting Vietnam, and Vietnamese were 40,000 people visited the Philippines. Vietnamese want to know a lot about the Philippines, about the history of the Philippines, about the structures of the hero Philippines. Vietnamese would like to explore, Filipinos' fruits, Filipinos' way of life, and they want to learn the good things of the Filipinos. Like Filipinos are very resilient, and I think this is the one that's Vietnamese can, learn from the Filipinos.
According to Deputy General Director Ngo Hoai Chung of the Vietnam National Administration of Tourism, trade turnover between the two countries has reached more than $4 billion. On the other hand, Ambassador Tuan added that as of this year, there is an increase of over 12%, and so reaching $3.6 to $3.8 billion in terms of trade. Chung also mentioned that Vietnam ranks 6th in the 10 fastest growing tourism destinations in the world, and the World Travel Organization honored Vietnam as Asia's leading travel destination 2018.
Automotive vehicle sales in August increased by 8.1% on a month-to-month basis, signaling what could be an end to sluggish sales in recent months. The Chamber of Automotive Manufacturers of the Philippines, Incorporated, or CAMPI, and Truck Manufacturers Association, or TMA, reported Wednesday. Vehicle sales last month rose to 30,313 units from 28,038 units sold in July this year. Coming from a double-digit decline in July, our August sales performance is an indication of improving consumer confidence, CAMPI President Romel Gutierrez said. The double-digit sales in passenger car segment lifted the slower growth in commercial vehicles for August. Sales of light commercial vehicles, on the other note, increased by 12% to 17,354 units this year from 15,499 units in August last year. Market leaders for this period were Toyota, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Ford, and Honda.
Join the EBC Family Fun Run, November 4, 2018, at the Ciudad de Victoria Complex, Bulacan. Choose from race categories: 1.062 kilometer, 2.5 kilometers, 5 kilometers, and 9.55 kilometers. Registration is ongoing. For more details, log on to www.eaglenews.ph/EBC Fun Run or call 784-7450, local 1162. You may also visit www.facebook.com/EBC Fun Run. EBC Family Fun Run!
Welcome back. A critically endangered Sumatran tiger has died after being caught in a hunter's trap on the Indonesian island of Sumatra, an official said Wednesday. Locals told the conservation agency that a female Sumatran tiger had been seen on Tuesday, caught in a pig trap set by a hunter in Muaru Lembu village of Riau province. Officers immediately visited the location, but the tiger was gone. The next day, officers scoured the area once again and found the tiger dead near a ravine with rope from the trap wrapped around its belly. There are fewer than 400 Sumatran tigers left in the wild, and environmental activists say they are increasingly coming into conflict with people as their natural habitat is rapidly deforested.
For the third year in a row, Bangkok is a top international destination in the world. The Thai capital welcomed 20.5 million visitors in 2017 and is predicted to host 9.06% more in 2018. This is according to this year's Mastercard Global Destination Cities Index. The annual list looks at visitor volume and spend at the largest 162 cities in the world, taking into both vacation and business travelers. The Southeast Asian capital was trailed by London with 19.83 million visitors and Paris with 17.44 million visitors. New York, the only North American city to crack the top 10, ranked 6th with 13.13 million international visitors.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. I'm Maricar Velasco.
Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Mariel Soriano, and
We are one with 25.